say, God, what am I supposed to do? If you're not going to help me and if you're not going to take it away, I'm not strong enough. I've white-knuckled it my whole life. I've tried and I've failed. What am I supposed to do? And he said, it's going to keep coming your way, and I'm not fixing it on your end. I'm telling you how to fix it, and it's when it comes your way, choose me.
Welcome back to the Uncomfortable Truth. We are here today. We're excited about our guest today. He's one of our favorite people in the world, and we love Chris Gordy. Chris is our guest today, and we're going to visit with him, talk with him about Jesus a little bit, one of his favorite subjects and one of our favorite subjects. And I know we've got some questions that we want to just kind of dig in, get to know Chris a little bit. You know, the Uncomfortable Truth podcast, it's thanks to a lot of people, including you, we've grown it, and there's a lot of people that are hearing about Jesus, really kind of more than we ever thought would tune in, you know, and listen to a couple average Joe guys talking about walking through life and how walking through life's a little bit easier when you got Jesus next to you.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Sean, you want to kind of introduce Chris a little bit?
Well, sure. You know, I'm not going to lay out all the accolades. It would take like all day.
We'd be here the rest of the day,
yes,
wouldn't we?
Yeah. But gosh, I've known Chris and his family for many years, and Chris is he's an entrepreneur. He's been a business owner and a Christ follower for I think as long as I've known him, and if I'm not mistaken, it's been quite a while. And he's always inspired me because he absolutely has a servant's heart, and he's just a really great guy, and we love having him on the podcast, and you know, and just love hearing him talk about Jesus. Mm-hmm. So super excited about that. And Obi and I, we were visiting last night, and we were talking about how we needed to come up with some questions for Chris. And I prayed about it, and I was just, you know, this morning I got up and started thinking about my wife and I. We've been recently watching The Chosen, and I was trying to think of something from The Chosen that inspired me. And there's something that we recently saw on The Chosen, and it's actually out of Matthew. And Matthew 14:22 is where it starts, and it's when Jesus walks on water. Just to kind of give you the little backstory, Jesus and the disciples, they had just got done feeding the 5,000 with 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. And they were, I believe they were tired, and Jesus told them to go ahead and go across the lake, ocean. You know, they were heading to the next stop, right? And Jesus said, "Y'all go ahead." And Jesus went up to pray, and so, you know, and one of the things I was thinking about this morning is I wonder what he was praying about. You know, and you think about that time, you know, in history, and how that comes all the way down to today. And he might have been praying like, God, just allow me to do something so profound that it's going to resonate with people 2,000 years from now, all the way down to today. You know, who knows what he was praying about, but I'd love to ask him, you know, if I had a couple of questions to ask. And so in The Chosen, my wife and I are watching this, and it's the part where all the disciples are on the water, and it's storming, and they're afraid. And all of a sudden they see Jesus walking across the water. The waves are crashing. This was a very emotional time. And when I'm watching this, I absolutely teared up, okay? Because the waves are crashing. They're afraid. Jesus is walking across the water. And Peter said, and Jesus says, "Hey, don't be afraid," you know. And Peter says, "Jesus, if it's you, call me out on the water." And Peter, "Come to me," you know, is what he says. And Peter steps out there and in faith, and he's walking on top of the water. And then all of a sudden, he starts paying attention to everything crashing in the waves. And this is where I got emotional, because it makes me think about, wow, you know, all the waves and crashing and all the roller coaster of things that we go through in our lives. And I'm like, wow, man, this is This is powerful. And then he's paying attention to this. Peter's looking around. He's afraid, and he starts sinking under the water. And in the Chosen, Jesus' hand comes down under the water, and Peter grabs it. And whenever he does, he raises back up. And that was what really got me in the Chosen. I mean, I was just like, wow. That was it was such a powerful thing, and that's talked about in Matthew 14:22 all the way down to verse 30 is 31 is where Jesus reaches down in the water. And my goodness, it was powerful. And I was trying to think of how I could incorporate that into a question for Chris. And this is what I came up with. Chris, what is a profound time in your life where the waves were crashing, the storm was raging, and like Peter, you were looking and you were not focusing on Jesus, but then whenever you got refocused on Jesus, it's like that's when everything came into perspective and you realized why he was allowing you to go through this trial and tribulation. And that's my first question for you.
Ooh.
That's a deep question. So it's like biggest challenge where you took your eye off the ball, maybe you were distracted, and you got refocused.
I mess up a lot, so there's a lot of possibilities. I'm just thinking through them.
Sure.
Mistakes. Man, let me just, the big outline at work, in my business, how I treat customers, employees, all of those, how my wife in my marriage, my kids get distracted thinking I know something. Mm-hmm. Man, it's more like daily, and every single time I think I know something, I go walking in it. Man, I can think of...
And not to put you under the knife, just if there's anything that stands out where you're like, wow, but Jesus was right here the whole time, and he reached his hand down, and that's whenever my distractions they went to the wayside, And, I think it's easy to get distracted by the things of the world. I think about like everything going on, the hurricanes and the wars and everything happening in Israel, and then, you got Jesus going, hey, well, I'm right here. I haven't left your side. And
maybe even a question is like, whenever you are distracted and you recognize that, what is like, how do you navigate those difficult decisions and then pull Jesus back into view, and when he, because when we're looking through everything out of his lens, it's like things just are clear, and whenever we start looking through things through the world's lens, we lose our sight and we start sinking in that water like like Peter did. And how do you feel like that you navigate those difficult decisions that you have in life?
Something's coming to mind, and it's the most uncomfortable topic in my life. So,
well, this is called the uncomfortable truth.
I'm sitting there saying it, and I'm thinking it. I'm like, anything but that. Can anything come to my mind but that? But it's not. So, I'm a man. I want to follow Christ with all my life, and women. Lust, temptation comes my way. It seems regular, enemy, culture, whatever it is. I've struggled with it. I can't stand it. It's not who I want to be. It's not what I want to be. It's not how I want to represent my God or my family or love my wife or represent my kids. Or it's not how I want to be. Several years ago, I failed. It was obvious that I failed. God brought it front and center in my face, and I had to face it. I'm thankful for having to have done it. And when I, just to go back a little bit, man, when I was 19 or 20, I could see that I wasn't going to be able to do the Christian life with the alcohol that I was consuming and the decisions that it made me make, or decisions that it allowed me to make, or gave me a good excuse to make, or whatever
Right.
you want to call it. I prayed when I was 20. I was a young Christian. I prayed, asked God, man, you take this away from me so that I can obey you and love you and honor you. And he did. Like, just, it felt like that. I no longer had a desire for alcohol. That was January 17th, 1997.
That's amazing.
He just took it away. So I hadn't had any alcohol since then. Thank you, Lord. And probably since that day, I've prayed, God, take this other thing away from me that just, it rips me. And for 20, 30, almost 30 years, I wondered why in the world would God not take this away? He's good, he's faithful, and I've seen it 1,000,001 times. He's incredible, but he's not taking it away, and I've continued to pray and ask, and he continues to not take it away. And I ask, why don't you take it away? And I ask him to take it away. And that's been going on, that struggle or battle, whatever you want to call it, it's been going on for, several years. Maybe at this time it was 25, 26, 27 years, something like that. And I ran up against that situation. God hit me in the face with it. I went to him, and I'm a little bit like, well, what's new? What's changed? What have you done? What's your part in this? You know,
Right.
you're God. I'm just a man, and I'm trying. If you're not going to take this away, God, take it away. And he's like, I'm not taking it away. Audibly or something.
That's the way you felt.
I felt like, what? You just answered for the first time in 25, 27, 29 years on this topic. I pray, God answers every time, almost anything that I pray, and I'm just undone by how faithful he is to my prayers, except this topic. A little bit like Paul, a thorn on the flesh. When I read all of that, this is my thorn in my flesh that I deal with, to let me know that I'm a man, that I need God bad.
Is that Romans 7, I think, when Paul's talking about his sin and how, like, his flesh can't overcome the sin. He's like, the things that I don't want to do, and I do them, and the things that I want to do, that I know you call me to do, I don't do those things, and Paul, who wrote the majority of the New Testament, is dealing with this same struggle with sin.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Even backing up even further in Matthew 14, and where Peter gets out of the boat, the backstory, even further back than them feeding the 5,000, is Peter's wife had just had a miscarriage. Okay, and he was super mad at Jesus. He didn't understand why. Why would you allow this to happen? You could have saved my child. You could have saved. You're performing miracles. I'm following you. I've laid down, my cross to follow you. Picked up my cross to follow you, and I'm, he's a follower. He's one of arguably the most popular, or I guess if you call it
Spoken
popularity,
about.
disciple of all. And he's super mad at Jesus, and he doesn't know, well, why didn't you save my child? Why didn't you save my child? And so he's really mad, and he didn't want to go to feed the 5,000. He didn't even want to go at all, and he ended up coming last. He showed up, and Jesus said, thank you. You're a massive part of this story. You're a massive part of what, I need you here for your testimony. And in his anger, and in all the strife and the waves, hitting the boat, he gets out of the boat and he trusts, but then his faith, he starts to sink. But I just feel like that is such a massive, Jesus could have saved his child. That's just the fact of the matter, okay? But he chose not to. And we have to wonder why. Well, part of that is we're talking about that today, and I think about you, and I know that that's something that I struggle with too. That's something that Obi struggles with. I know a lot of men our age. I know that's a huge struggle, and it's like, why doesn't God take that away? Because I have personally asked for God, hey, just to allow me to only have eyes for my wife, and I've said that prayer many times. And when you think about that, and it doesn't get taken away, and you're like, why? Where's the purpose in this? And
So, Chris, I guess kind of back to it. Like, have you developed a perspective because God revealed to you that He's not taking that away, right?
He said it, like I said, he said it almost audibly, like, I'm not taking it away. And I'm just like, what? You took away alcohol, and that helped me so much.
Right.
And you've helped me so much through all this stuff. And y'all, I'm telling you, with everything that I know, if we were talking about a car, you would listen.
Right.
But I know about this like I know about cars. I've lived this. My whole life is I've listened to God, and I pray, and He answers. He's faithful. So, God, what am I supposed to do? If you're not going to help me, and if you're not going to take it away, I'm not strong enough. I've white-knuckled it my whole life. I've tried, and I've failed. What am I supposed to do? And He said, audibly or whatever it was as clear as day, and he'd never said it like this before. He said, choose me. And I'm like, what? And He's like, it's going to keep coming your way, and I'm not fixing it on your end. I'm telling you how to fix it, and it's when it comes your way, choose me. And I'm thankful for the instruction, and I'm telling you that it gave me the power. He knows I'm dealing with it. I know He's not taking it away. That ain't happening, so that it ain't going to just fixing to get easy someday. And He gives me the strength and the will and the instruction. Choose Him, like Peter, like I'm right here. All you got to do is choose me and stop looking at all this world and all the stuff that you can't do and all the stuff you can't control. This is something that you can control, and I'll help you through it. Just choose me.
Just choose me. Man, that's powerful. I mean, it's powerful, and it's also it's a simple message.
Simple.
It's a simple message. It's like, you don't have to, walk down this road and turn left, turn right, and then you're gonna find me. It's like, I'm right here.
It's the same as everything else. It's
Right.
like, you ain't enough, and I am. If you'll stop trying, you'll get there. Not this many push-ups or this many pull-ups or none of that. You can't do it. It don't matter. Not practice, not nothing. You're not enough, and I am.
Choose
You
me.
can't do it.
So true.
I can't.
That's good.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, since that day, I shared it with my son. Hey, man, you're going to struggle with this, I'm sure. You're young and you're married, and I don't know, whatever. But I struggled with him because I needed to tell somebody. And, I shared it with him because I needed to tell somebody. And, man, since that day, I feel like I have power over something that I lived with the belief that it had power over me my whole life.
I think
thankful.
that we all have whatever that is. Every single one of us struggle with that in some form or fashion.
I believe it also.
So it's like, that's the answer. It's like we have to lose the distractions. Our listeners, they're struggling with something right now that they think they've prayed. They've asked God to pull from their lives countless and countless times, 20, 30 years spent just pleading with God to rid them of whatever was keeping them from developing a relationship with Him more, being a better human, being a better follower of Christ,
A better husband,
a better husband,
father. Man, I have a hard time thinking it's 75% of men or 85% of men. I have a hard time thinking that every single person listening doesn't struggle with this, because I've asked it to be gone. I've begged and pleaded with God for it to be gone. And He's like, I need you to know that you need me. I need you to know that I'm here. I need you to be dependent on me. I need you to keep your eyes focused on me, so you don't get pulled away by whatever's next or whoever walks by next.
I have a question. So, aside from what we're talking about right now, on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the best life ever, a 1 being the worst life ever, take that away. How would you rate your life and the goodness and the things that God has blessed you with? Where would you rate that right now on a scale from 1 to 10?
Take what away?
So if you take away that sin that we're talking about,
Oh yeah.
and you look at the goodness and the way God has shined in your life, I mean, you have a wonderful life from the outside looking in. I'm just, and you walk in humility, Chris, more than anybody that I know. So I want you to know, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but you have an unbelievable life. And when I'm looking at you and I see this struggle, and I'm like, wow, if there was no struggle there, zero, like, and everything was just perfect,
That's a good point.
would you ever need Jesus?
Yeah, I would think that, boy, I've got this figured out really good.
Yeah.
And I've pretty much mastered this. And, man, I'm the guy to be looked at among all guys. Everybody needs to look at me and see what the good life looks like. But I struggle like everybody else, and I fail like everybody else. And I hate it probably like everybody else. If they're looking for the uncomfortable truth, they're looking for an answer, a reason. Man, 11, my life is 11. God's blessed me. He's faithful when I'm not. He's good when I'm not. He's there listening when I'm not even able to hear. Oh, he's so good. And in this, when you're looking for an answer, what you want is him to make you not think that way. And he's like, I want you to think that way. That's your flesh. You just keep on with your free will. I'm giving you a way out. With every temptation, I provide a way out, and this is my way out. Well, God, I can't do alcohol and marriage. I'm going to take that away from you. Why did he choose to take that away from me and not this? I don't know that. I won't know that this side of heaven. Maybe when I'm drinking, I can't choose him. Maybe that's the way I was. But he's given me every tool. He answers every time, and he's always faithful. And when I'm in those situations, I choose him. I feel like King Kong because I got God on my side. Yeah. Instead of the other way is cowering, hiding, getting in the dark, and then getting a sneak look around here, parking lot, all of that whole strategic life to sneak a peek at my destruction. Where when I say, Lord, help me through this, my eyes bounce, my chest goes out, and I'm like, I'm walking with the God of the universe, and he's walking with me instead of I'm walking alone.
God on.
It's a different walk.
It's almost like you when God revealed that that was never leaving and that you have to choose him. It's like the famous verse that James talks about. It's almost like the life of James and your life became very understandable when he says, consider it pure joy.
Yeah.
My brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know the testing of your faith produces perseverance. And it's like, consider it pure joy because you know you got me.
That's my gift, is him, not the strength to overcome, not the power to overcome, not the will to overcome, not pure eyes or pure heart. I have no righteousness,
right?
But I've got Jesus if I'll choose him.
Exactly.
And I have the opportunity to choose him. He wants me to choose him. Absolutely.
That's why James says consider it pure joy, because everybody's like, how am I supposed to consider my trials pure joy? Mm-hmm. What do you mean, James? Like, what are you talking about? I mean, this hurts. This is hard. You want me to consider it joy? And when you toil and you pray and you continue to just ask God to delete that sin from you and it doesn't happen, it's like, well, the moral of this story is you're going to go through these struggles and these challenges so that you know you need me forever.
Period.
Forever.
That's the way it is. I think anybody that's listened to this, I think if you're trying to be a Christian man in 2024 and you're trying to represent God, you're trying to love your wife, you're trying to love your family, I don't see how you aren't toiling. So if you're not toiling, you need to check that. If you're not toiling, you need to go like, why am I not toiling? You may have given yourself over to it. And I have. And, I've failed in that way. But these days, I'm toiling and I know the answer. And I'm living in victory instead of in defeat like I have for so many years. When you ask something like that, this is my emotion because I'm so thankful. And then you ask, how blessed is your life? And I'm like, the one I don't deserve. I'm so thankful that God provides me a way out. He even provides me a way to even know Him in Jesus. I'm so thankful that He would even consider walking out on the water and reaching His hand down for a wretch like me. And Paul talks about how the thorn in his flesh, it's there, and he walks with it and he lives with it. And look at all that he did and look how faithful he was. And man, consider it joy that we get the opportunity to walk through this life with temptation, but we know the answer and we get to choose Christ in it every time. And He's there every time with His hand out saying, come on, I got you. Come on.
Yeah.
Look at me.
Amen.
Good stuff.
I can't think of a better way to end our first session here with Chris than that right there. We've got another one coming up. Tune in for our next session with Chris. Don't forget to like and subscribe and send some people some of these videos that you're seeing about Jesus. Plant a seed in somebody's life. Help us plant seeds in people's life for Jesus. People need to understand that there's sin on this earth. It's never going to stop. We're always going to struggle to some degree or another. It's part of the refinement process of God pulling us closer to Him and understanding that we have a need for Him no matter what. It doesn't matter how great things are, how things look on the outside. It doesn't matter how wonderful your marriage, your kids, things are going in life. Trial's going to strike, and who are you going to look to whenever that happens? We want you to look to Jesus. So go out and kick the day in the face, and we'll catch you on the next one.